All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my weekly live stream. This week is, I unfortunately I sent out the link to everyone of our regular panelists a little bit late. So right now we have John Clark and Blarg. Blarg is actually driving, so he's going to be, I think, mostly listening in. Here's Wook. And then we have Wook.
G'day, you mongrels. How you going?
And of course, we have John Clark.
Hey, John.
What's good with you?
Oh, I got a new Australian show that you may have not seen, John.
Please, thank you. Tell me.
Look up Fast Forward, and it's called, the show Skippy, about the kangaroo.
Vaguely, I think.
Yeah. Look up, just to get you in the mood, look up Skippy and the White Slavers.
Skippy and the White Slavers?
Yep.
Oh, dear.
What's the exact one? Yeah, Skippy and the White Slavers. And then it might be a bit too Australian, but there is quite a bit of world content in it. Look up Roy and HG Club Buggery.
Can you put into the comments? Can you spell that out?
Yep, no worries.
Put in the comments, and for everyone else. So these are Australian TV shows?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's basically, imagine a rude version of Skippy the Bush Kangaroo.
Unfortunately, I can't because I don't know that either.
Oh.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. So
That's
unfortunately, Ook, you didn't hear, but Blarg is, traveling. He's actually traveling home.
Yes,
so he won't be able to participate too much, but he's listening in.
Yeah. He's, I mean, I actually read Blarg's post to me, and his blood's worth bottling. There's no two ways about it. What he's been through in the last couple of months. I helped out. Anyway, I'll shut up and start having a cuppa. Oh yeah.
Yep. So for this week, I didn't really have anything specific, and I know that Jesse said he wasn't going to be available this week. I don't know if that other young Earth creationist is going to come back on, but for this week, I did just have I was just looking at some of the comments a bit about half an hour ago, and so I wanted to kind of talk about some of those, and then if if we have time, we can kind of talk about generally about the atheist experience comments. So the first topic I wanted to bring up is, and John and I were talking a little bit before the show. It's about our favorite Bible dumper, whose now was by Jesus never tapped. Yeah. So, I think he got sort of embarrassed with the flow BJJ kickboxing, just because everyone kind of latches on to the BJ portion. So he changed his tag. So he changed his tag to Jesus never tapped.
He may not have thought that one all the way through.
Yeah. I think that's what happened. But I mean, we'll always know him as the Florida BJ. Or Florida.
Oh, trust me. Every time I think of him, I will think of BJ.
Well, that might be good. I don't know. But we've also made fun of.
I've made it very clear. I've made it very clear that I'm not kink shaming him. I'm just not kink shaming him either. That's all.
Yeah. Well, and even his new one, Jesus never tapped, that's also kind of weird as well. I presume he means Jesus never tapped out, didn't give up. I think that's what he means by tapped, but it's actually not very clear.
he's got this whole false bravado macho man thing going on, and it's all macho alpha bro culture crap. That he's a big strong he's got a big strong brain, he's a big strong boy, and he just loves trying to make sure that everybody knows about it, which is why he can only talk to people if they call him, and he can listen to their voice over his phone. That's not weird at all.
But he seems oblivious about some things. Like Miranda made a comment, did he really not know what he was doing with that name? It's like maybe he didn't know, and that BJJ kickboxing probably stands for something, but he never thought how other people might read that.
So it's probably short for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I did figure that out. Yeah. So that sounds like that's very macho, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's correct. I looked up, and there's a bunch of those Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that BJ kickboxing gyms around the Florida area where he is.
Yeah. So he's got this big macho alpha image that he wants to make sure everybody has about him, but he's so thin-skinned and so childish. It's so easy to get under his skin, and it's clear that I've been living in his head rent-free, because the second that the second that I poked at him again, it's the floodgates opening all over. So I gave you my number. I've been waiting for you to call me. Blah 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 blah. Just get over yourself.
Yeah, definitely. He wants to be macho with that, BJJ, that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because that sounds pretty cool. But yeah, it just kind of backfired. But so just going back to his new name, Jesus Never Tapped. It was kind of funny because we've kind of made comments that Jesus did indeed tap out. He's not here. At least according to the story, he kind of, ran away with promises to come back that he never fulfilled.
But any day now, he'll be back.
Soon. Remember, soon.
Very, very soon. Any day now. Any minute.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of go back over this, this whole debate thing, where you've told him multiple times that, you're willing to debate him, and also willing to debate him one-on-one. We can set that up. So I get it that he's, he doesn't want to get, ganged up on by, a bunch of us. And although, to be fair to ourselves, we generally don't try to gang up on, theists that come on. I think we do try to kind of keep it, pretty almost like one-on-one, where we're just kind of like switching places. We're not like all just, bombarding them with questions. We try to kind of stay on topic. So, but, I get it. He's afraid. But, we've kind of addressed that issue. But still, he's putting up a condition, so here's his post, and this is same as what he always puts up. He talks about how he posted his number again in his description box. So in his channel somewhere, he's putting up his phone number, because it's really hard to put up phone numbers because it's, YouTube filters it out. So he's doing that, and he keeps on like inviting people, random people or anyone to go over there, get his number and call him. And we've explained to him why, no one would want to do that. And, he just completely ignores it, doesn't address that issue, and just claims that, well, you're not calling me because you're afraid. Just turning it around.
Again, goes back to that faux macho-ness that, he wants to make sure is projecting all the time, which means it's absolutely authentic that he's big and strong and not skirted, nothing. Again, I've told him that I will not call him. Under no circumstances will I do that. And what is fascinating is, in the past, he said he doesn't mind if there is a record. In other words, if it's recorded. So either he's backpedaling on that now, which would be fascinating, but then it really is just about him trying to control the narrative and the arena in which the debate takes place. Because he even says in one of the exchanges, I think it was in his original one of his posts, that he doesn't want a moderator. So he wants to be able to just talk over people. He wants to be able to steamroll and be the big strong man in the room.
And even that, we could accommodate him, right? I could just have you and him on the stage.
Yeah. But without a moderator.
Say again, there's like a lot of background. So, are you like trying to start up a car or something?
No. She must be about making bread. Hang on. Eventually, she got the right one. Yeah. How can there be a debate if there's no moderator?
Well, it's not really a debate, right?
It's just, as he said, he just wants to preach.
Yeah. And I know if it was just one-on-one with no moderator, he's just going to be, spewing Bible verses and think that that's a good enough argument.
Yeah.
Which is how we know that he has no leg to stand on when it comes to any of his arguments, because you'll notice when people actually point out where he's wrong and where he does not have any kind of standing. In fact, archaeology, nothing. He never responds.
Yeah, he doesn't respond to any of the actual factual comments,
Remember, he's an old Earth creationist, but modern humans have only been around for 6,000 years.
So yeah, that's the part that gets me confused every time. Like, wait a minute, you don't believe in evolution through, or at least as framed initially by Darwin and by subsequent scientific process, but you'll believe in this super mega ultra evolution that will take 2 or 3 of a kind of dog, whatever that even means, and turns it into the millions of dogs worldwide, not to mention the different species within dog that exists. Like, you don't believe in evolution, but you do believe in this in evolution. It's just bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, kind of litigate what we think he believes, because he's not here. So I don't want to necessarily like put words in his mouth, but in terms of him kind of dishonestly, like in his post, when he ends it with "your move, champ," as if he's done everything and we're the ones that are kind of holding this up. So when he makes those kind of comments, he's obviously, just kind of playing games. He's not really interested in, having a one-on-one conversation that's recorded.
No, and now if somebody can show me where he did this before and show that I'm incorrect in this, then please point this out. But I don't think he started saying "your move," "your move, champ," until I started making the ultimatums to him and start saying, and I would end it with "your move." So he's trying to mock me with the whole "your move" thing, because I called him out and used that as kind of my finishing line.
Yeah, I think so. I vaguely remember that. But let me just like confirm again, and we've talked about this. His claim that you made a post somewhere confirming that, okay, he has here, I can't remember, maybe it's on a different one, where he says that you definitely confirmed that you have his number and you're just not calling him. Did you actually call him that? And because who is
Nope.
it? Okay, Sunday was making a comment.
I don't have his number.
That he thought
I never took down his number. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, I get a feeling that
looks like Otangelo.
Oh, Otangelo.
Yeah, Otangelo's
Yeah.
around.
So Otangelo, I'm personally okay with you coming on, but some people have commented that you are someone who doxed. What's her name? Matt
Well,
Dillahunty's significant other. Oh, shoot! Why am I blanking on her name?
well, either way.
Wait, can someone remind me? So,
Oh, wait a
because
second.
she's trans, and
Yeah.
of course, I'm sure she gets so much abuse for being trans. And okay, Otangelo is going away, so he's not going to defend Arden. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Otangelo isn't going. I mean, he's going away because he doesn't want to defend that, and he obviously isn't denying it either. So I'll just kind of take that as is. But yeah, I know Arden's been getting a lot of abuse, just being sort of semi-public, and I know that Matt also gets a lot of attacks on that front. Things like calling him gay. And I think that debate, quote unquote debate, that was going to happen with that Andrew Wilson guy, where all he did was just attack the fact that he's I guess Arden is his significant other. It did seem like maybe they got married, but I'm not sure if that's just them kind of Matt just kind of calling Arden his wife, maybe not technically married. I don't know if anyone on the live chats or you guys here on the panel know.
I have no idea. I mean, I wish them all the happiness if they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say. I mean, I will personally, I'll talk with or debate with Otangelo. I personally have no problems with doing that. I understand that that might not be the. I'll leave it up to the group as to whether or not he be allowed any kind of a forum. To some extent, I do want to caution. So my concern is when we start saying, well, this person did this person did that. So we don't want to allow them any kind of a forum. I guess we just want to make sure that we're not being gatekeeper too much. If that makes sense.
I think that's a good point. I think that is a good point. But I think there are differences between where someone may have a different view,
Sure.
and disagree with us, and then there are things where they are, let's say, a bigot or a racist.
Sure. Right.
I think if like someone who was just like an avowed racist wants to come and talk to us, where we know that they're not going to be talking about the topic, but going back to racism, I definitely wouldn't want to have them on here. And Otangelo is, I mean, I know a little bit about him, and I've seen some of his kind of quote unquote arguments, and there's really nothing there, no substance there, and he really isn't an honest interlocutor. So I don't think we're losing anything by not having Otangelo on.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I was debating him in the comment section last week, and admittedly, his arguments there's nothing new there. But if we start saying that people can't come on because there's no new arguments, then there's never going to be a new argument from a theist.
Well, that's true.
So we then we run the risk of being the people that say that we want folks to come on, but then no one's good enough to come on. Like sometimes you end by being open and saying, hey, let's have these conversations. Folks like Brad, folks like Jess, who, we disagree with them, but we can have a real conversation with those folks.
Well, I think what I was getting at was more of, kind of their debating style, where they're not honestly engaging with arguments.
Yeah, I know. And sometimes the benefit is by putting the spotlight on their craziness. It's not to ever convince them and get them to admit that they're crazy. It's to show how crazy they are so that other people can see how little and how intellectually dishonest and how intellectually vapid their position is.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I did want to bring up one thread that came up where I thought it was kind of funny. So I wanted to talk about it. So it says, Sarah loves Jesus too. So her post is, looks like the resurrection has you all shook. I'm not sure. I don't know if there's something in the video where that letter say that, but obviously that's silly. So I made a comment that maybe I think we would be shook if we had actual evidence of someone resurrecting. We had concrete evidence that resurrection was possible. I think it would be astonishing, from a scientific point of view. But these are claims that have been around for a long time. Even in the Old Testament, there are many cases where people have been resurrected. At least a few cases. I can't think of them off the top of my. I think like some of the prophets may have resurrected someone, but it's a common trope. So when I made that response, her counter response, and this is the funny part, is sugar muffin is called an empty grave. Did you forget? Blessings. So because a grave is empty, it must have been resurrection.
Yes. The only possible explanation is resurrection, not grave robbers and not complete fiction in the first place. No, the only possible explanation. Good grief.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't be just someone writing a story saying.
Her insistence on using phrases like, sweetie and sugar muffin. Oh, pumpkin pie. That's a personal favorite of mine, actually.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I mean, I think they're, I think they're trying to use that to say, well, this is so obvious, and you're like a little kid, so you don't understand. I think that's kind of, what's happening when she uses those type of, I guess, endearments, for lack of a better word.
I only use that sort of stuff when I want to. Up you go, Blood.
It's called poisoning the well. Wants to make anything that you have to say make you into an idiot, and therefore anything you have to say is of no value. So they don't have to address the substance of your comment. They just can dismiss you because you're just some poor deluded child. So fairly standard topic. Demonstrates a dishonest interlocutor.
Yeah, and she's saying that because she thinks her argument that there's an empty grave is somehow a slam dunk that anyone should see as a proof of resurrection.
It's funny how it took something like 40 years for anyone to start talking about an empty grave or an empty tomb, because Paul knew nothing about it. In all those letters, at no point does he mention anything like it. And then all of a sudden, yes, we're meant to swallow this idea that everyone knew about it. And no.
I have to apologise to Kiwi and to anyone who read the comments on last week's show. I upset Jesse again, but that's all right. Anyone who reads the comments, I
think he's going. I think he will come back next week. He specifically said that he had commitment this week.
But I really like maybe Blarg, myself, and John, we need to nail down one, definitions, because he said he tried pulling that crap of everyone's got faith, and I went, nope, sorry. And then he said, "Oh no, when I mean faith, it just means trust." And yeah, I let him have it in the comments because he's just ridiculous. I don't care what religion he is, as long as you don't impede on the, happiness or damage anyone else's mental state or whatever. But this young Earth creationist, that fascinates me. And he's just I'd really love to have a talk about that, because if you're religious, go for it.
We were going to get that guy Jack Moody. He was here last week, but he wanted Otangelo to go ahead of him, and seemed now not interested in talking to us. But he's an avowed young Earth creationist.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to know, because I didn't actually believe it was a thing. I thought everyone was just taking the piss out of me.
There really are young Earth creationists out there.
Yeah, it was only 10 years ago that I went, what, people actually believe that ridiculous? Like, wow.
Well, I mean, we have flat earthers.
Yeah, there's always been flat earthers. They've just been, not without the internet. They didn't have a voice. They just basically got, slapped on the back of the head and said, shut up. They're Nigels or Neils. He's not around. No, I'll get in trouble for that. But yeah, Nigel no mates. They're the guys who, if you pull out a camera and you start taking photos, they come over and they know everything about the camera, and you just turn around and say, "Fuck off, Neil." They've heard that all their life. Weird. That really fascinates me. The young Earth thing, how they can do that.
Well, I think eventually we'll get someone, and if Jesse comes back, that's one of the things that we can talk to him about. I think the next topic that we were going to have with him was his position on intelligent design.
Yes, I know Blarg's championing it a bit to take the lead on that one. But
so it might be good that he didn't show up this week, since it'll be hard for Blarg to have a discussion while driving.
Yeah.
But I did want to call out John's joke. There's a fine line between a numerator and a denominator. Only a fraction of people will find this funny. So I thought that was good. It's like that joke, there are only two types of people, people that understand binary, and that's it.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Another one of my favorites is 100% of the people that confuse correlation with causation die.
My brother-in-law's got a T-shirt that says there's two types of people. One who can extrapolate from insufficient information to theft. And I quite like that one as well.
Oh, yes. There are two types of people in this world: those that can extrapolate conclusions based on incomplete data. ...
So Jake Green made a comment. No one was put in the tomb, hence no one was actually seen coming out of a tomb, as the tomb was supposedly closed. No tomb was opened by an angel. But just, Jake, it depends on which gospel you read. There are varying different accounts of whether the tomb was open or closed, or whether there was an angel that opened it, whether there was an angel inside it, or Jesus was there or not there. So,
whether there was a guard on duty, whether or not there wasn't a guard on duty.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably like one of the worst ones in kind of discrepancies within the gospels, and there are many, but this one was like, kind of egregious, because there are four stories that are just completely different.
Well, just remember that, like Jess was saying last week, that's the fewer details means the less accurate it is, the more accurate it is.
Yeah, or I think he was trying to say more believable.
Yeah, just come on, dude. So first of all, you've got stories that aren't even being written down until 1, 2, 3 generations after the alleged events took place. And then even further down the line, characters show up that weren't there in previous incarnations and then disappear in other iterations afterwards. It's just badly written stories.
Well, and also, I think a lot of you know that Mark pretty much ends with the women running away from the tomb, and everything after that was added on later. Of Jesus being seen afterwards, and basically the original Mark story just wasn't good enough for the people at the time, so they had to add on to it to, I guess, satisfy the narrative.
And the other possibility is that just like when you play the telephone game, when stories get passed around after generation after generation after generation, just nobody has to put it in. It just evolves over time. It just these are stories that got passed around. They're folklores, they're fairy tales. This is not even the first time that a resurrection story in a religion is brought up. It's just this is just another version of that.
Yeah, no, what QC was saying there is that there are earlier versions of Mark with
We can't hear you.
And then versions. Sorry, saying that there's what QC was saying is that there are versions of Mark that end at verse 16, I think it is, where he's just the woman runs away, and then later manuscripts have the rest of the story added onto it, so it's a later addition to the actual text of the written story. So it's not necessarily a game of telephone there. It's a game of let's add some new stuff to the manuscript.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually, so it ends at chapter 16, verse 8, and verse 8 is, the women fled from the tomb, trembling and bewildered, and they said nothing to anyone because they were frightened. So that was the end of the whole story. And then a lot of Bibles will actually kind of mention that, and in this case, in the NIV version, it says, the most ancient manuscripts of Mark conclude with verse 16:8. Later manuscripts add one or both of the following endings. So there's actually like 2 different endings to Mark. And the shorter one is that basically they report this to Peter, and afterwards Jesus himself sent them out from east to west with the sacred and unfailing message of salvation that gives eternal life. Amen. And then the longer one has quite a few more verses after that provides some more details. Yeah, so despite all these kind of issues with the text, people are still saying that this is the unfailing word of God. Go ahead, Oak.
Sorry, I was just
the unfailing word of God is in English.
Yeah, Jesus was a blue-eyed white European. I was just going to say, I asked in chat, does anyone remember Dave Allen? And Dave Allen was probably he's a great Irish comedian, and he was probably the first comedian on TV that was openly atheist. So yeah, trailblazer in comedy. And I can always remember all the brothers, all the Catholic priests loved him. They just thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But yeah, just have a look up Dave Allen, and you'll see that, you know, for the 70s, which is when he was around, to have his own TV show, not only in Australia, but also in the UK, Ireland, a lot of Europe. Yeah, really, really interesting guy and funny to have a look at.
Yeah, apparently he was born David Tynan O'Mahony, and he died in 2005, so not that long ago.
He's got a huge archive on YouTube, and also the one that my avatar has taken, Father Ted. Have a watch of that. It's quite brilliant. Oh, my avatar, you'll notice I'm clean. No, oh, well, you'll notice Father Jack is clean and cut. That means I'm in a good mood.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
All right, that's it.
You're not the right bastard that you were last week.
Yeah, I'm not cranky. I'm sort of mellow. But yeah, Father Ted is also another good Irish show that just takes the piss out of religion. Very good.
There's another comedian who does a lot of kind of anti-religion or atheist type of jokes. Oh, I forget his name. I mean, I think he's a Brit. Shoot. I guess maybe next week I can mention it because he's actually, he makes a lot of the points that we make in the comments. Oh, no, not Ricky Gervais. But yeah, I guess Ricky Gervais is another one that kind of talks about the kind of the foolishness of believing in a God.
QC?
Yeah. Can you hear us? Oh, I think maybe people are.
Where Blart's traveling from and to is probably one of the worst places in Australia for cellular connection. You're going up through what's called the far North Queensland tablelands. So you've got to go over sort of the Great Divide mountain and in through valleys, and yeah, very beautiful, but a shite place for reception. You'll be dropping in and out all the time.
Yeah, so I did find it, and let me see if I can put it on. It's a guy named Jimmy Carr. If anyone's
Jimmy
heard
Carr.
this stuff.
Yeah, Jimmy.
I know Jimmy Carr.
Yeah, so
it's a lot.
Oh, I don't know if you can hear this.
Quite strong stuff.
Sorry.
Is very much like one's sexual preferences. Some people like very gentle, some people like the rough stuff, and as long as it's consenting, I'm fine. This comedy-wise is the rough stuff. This is the BDSM. So if that's not for you, if you don't even get those references, don't watch this video.
Well, what I'd like to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is tell you what this show is actually about. I've had an extraordinary 12 months. I've had a life-changing experience. I was a very cynical man, and I didn't really have any religion in my life, and I've let spirituality in the last 12 months, and it's been extraordinary. So this evening, what I'd really like to do is to test. I'm joking. There's no God. Grow up. Unless you're Muslim, in which case there definitely is a God. I'm not a fucking idiot.
Yeah, so definitely watch his video, and this particular one where, and I've watched this before, where he's kind of just like roasting religion, and it's hilarious. So I definitely recommend watching.
Yeah, Jimmy Carr is really good. George Carlin also was real good when it came to tearing into religion and just some of its absurdities.
Yeah. All right. So the other one I wanted to talk about, just because he's been very prolific in the comments, is Steve. And the one the one I wanted to bring up was, obviously he's continuing to say where objective morality is only possible with God, and atheists don't have any morality because they don't have objective, they don't have God, so they don't have objective morality. So he goes kind of on, and he never really gets into actually defending that position. It's just he continues to just make claims, despite myself and many people letting him know that morality doesn't depend on God. And in fact, of all the different moral systems that are out there, there's really only one main one that has God in the center, and that's the divine command theory, which is supposedly objective, but you can definitely argue that it's completely subjective. But the comment that I thought really got me was, he's trying to argue, and maybe this isn't the right one. Oh, okay, no, this is the right one. So, this is how he argues that his morality is objective. So he says, if you go to court in the US and claim I did something, for example, but you have, actually, this isn't the right one. Maybe he says it later.
I haven't been able to work out Steve. I just put him down as another godling wanker. So.
Yeah, maybe I can't remember where he gets into it, but actually, I think it was the comment before that one where he makes that comment. Okay. No, maybe not. Well, so let me just kind of summarize. What he's saying is that he said, well, and I wonder if he deleted that comment. But what he's basically saying is that his defense of his morality, based on God being objective, is that it's based on the 10 Commandments. So he talks about, well, without God, you can't go to court and argue that murder is immoral, because a Christian can point to the 10 Commandments and use that to say that their morality is objective because it's based on something concrete. Of course, that makes no sense because the commandment against killing or murder has been around way before Judaism. So it seems kind of silly to use the 10 Commandments, and also because to use the commandments in the Old Testament as your source of morality completely doesn't make sense, because those aren't really about morality. Those are kind of more of a legal strictures. So morality and legality, there's obviously a tie, but it's not the same. And what's in the Bible is not moral guidance. It's a legal guidance, at least from a commandment point of view.
But also, as far as the 10 Commandments go, we don't even have agreement on some of the. Is it "Thou shalt not kill" or "Thou shalt not murder," which are two very different concepts. But don't steal, don't kill, don't covet. These are ideas that predate Christianity and Judaism by many folds. Not to mention the fact that if you take a look at Buddhist teachings and how the concept of attachment, he also talks about don't steal, don't murder, don't covet, don't want, don't have attachment. Like it's so often Christians have no concept of history outside of their own faith and how much their structures were influenced by other cultures around them. It really is fascinating how ignorant they are.
Well, so I couldn't find the actual comment, but I was afraid that he was going to delete it. So I made a separate thread where I quote what he said. So what he said was, Christian morality is objective because it comes from a God of morality and is not a made-up construct of man. If I go to court and say murder is immoral, I can refer back to God's 10 Commandments as outside proof. So first of all, why do you go to court and have to kind of prove that murder is immoral? You don't go there. You don't go to court to say that murder is immoral. You go to court to say that murder is illegal.
Right. Yeah, we don't have a moral system. We don't have a morality system. We have a legal system.
Yeah, and you also, the 10 Commandments or the Old Testament commandments, it's not even enough to come up with the complex legal system that we currently have. It's we don't want our legal system based on not being able to eat lobster.
Yeah, because I really like lobster.
Yeah, and also I think not being able to eat bacon. I think that would be like a big
Yeah,
no
nope, I'm
from
out.
a lot of people.
Jesus may not have tapped out, but I do now.
Yeah, right. Because bacon is actually the food of gods.
It is proof that there's a higher power and that he wants us to be happy.
That's right. I hope we don't get too many comments coming in who are vegans. That's always a fun discussion.
I got an avatar. I got an avatar that actually, one of mine says, "Feck off, religious gobshites. Replace religious with vegan." I like changing that one when I'm talking to vegans.
So I do want to let y'all know that back in college, like for about a month, I had a completely vegetarian diet. Those suckers are hard to catch too.
Yes.
Well, I mean, like I'm also vegetarian because
that's
I will
fucking
only
awful.
Oh, go ahead.
The boys from the
I was
bush.
just saying that joke's fucking awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm currently in the big city, passing through. Going to pull up for a coffee.
Which big city?
Cairns? There's only
Mackay.
one up there. Oh, Mackay.
Yeah, all the way down there.
Oh, bloody
Is that
hell.
not a very big city?
Well, compared to what I've been driving through, it is.
Yeah, if anyone wants to know where Blarg and myself sort of grew up, just type in far north Queensland, Australia. And yeah, Blarg was on the coast. I was more, Mount Isa, a MIN mining town. Yeah, we used to joke that our state was 10 years behind, like the 80s only happened in the 90s in where we come from. And some of the smaller towns, yeah, they were just getting out of the 70s when the 90s were around.
Is this the right place? Mackay? Mackay?
Well, Mackay or Mackay, depends on who you talk to. Yep, that's it.
But this is the right one on Lambert Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
and
on.
If you go up,
okay, it's on.
If you scroll back in, Q, stop. You'll see the next city, just up a bit, up a bit more. Yeah, that's where I went to school, Townsville.
Oh, okay.
And if you go left, like Charters Towers, yep, keep going. Left of you.
Left.
You'll see Concurry. Back a bit. Mount Isa. No, you're left.
Well, it's too big. Australia's too big.
Yeah, you'll see down the bottom, there's Mount Isa.
Yeah.
Go right a little bit. That's where I was born.
Oh, Concurry. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can see why the bush. From Townsville to Brisbane, which is the capital city, it's normally about a 16-hour drive. I once did it in 8 hours, but that was before police had radar guns. I mean, we've got cattle stations that are bigger than I think from memory, 47 countries. So, yeah, it's big. I'll finish.
Yeah. So the other bad vegetarian joke is I'm a vegetarian because I only eat cows that only eats grass.
Yeah.
All
Right.
right. I got another one. Has anyone
Yeah.
seen Sunday and myself using the word dilly-gaff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It comes from Kevin Bloody Wilson's song called Dilly-gaff, and you actually have to listen to it to understand it. It basically means, do I look like I give a fuck?
I figured it was something like that.
Yeah, but it's quite funny the way he does it in his song. Yeah, dilly-gaff.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah, I
Hunter
saw that. I
also
knew exactly
does
what you meant.
Oh, he did.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those, bloody.
There's dilly-gaff. There's IDGRA.
Yeah. We got,
Well,
and
whenever I see F somewhere in those type of acronyms, I figure F is for fuck.
It's welcome to the internet. That's pretty much all it means. It is, yeah. It's been kind of a slow week in the comment section, at least on my end. I honestly almost didn't even make it tonight, just because again I'm traveling for work, and so I was just kind of burned out. And then I don't know. I decided to get a wild hair and poke at Flowboy for a little bit, and then he got me interested again in showing up tonight. So,
Well, we had someone also come back from a long hiatus, which is Neppy. Neppy was gone in the comments for a long time, and he's coming back with a vengeance.
he is, and I am shook at his arguments. It's the same stuff over and over again, and I'm convinced that he has enough self-awareness that he knows that he can't deal with live debate, but he can't even handle debate in the comments section. One of the things that I pointed out to him, for the past 4 years, he's been saying that he's been dominating the Atheist Experience channel for over a decade. Then, for whatever reason, I think it was earlier this year, or maybe it was late last year, he started specifically giving a number, saying 11 years. So I've been pointing out to him that 10 plus 4 doesn't equal 11. And his response to that was, well, now it's almost 12 years. So he's either trying to take the piss, or he really has such cognitive dissonance that he doesn't understand that he just face planted off of basic math.
Well, how long has the Atheist Experience been around?
The channel itself, I believe, has been around for 14, 15 years now, maybe, I think. Hold on. Let me pull it up and I can see real quick how old the oldest video is. Let's see real quick. Because
that's kind of what he's saying, that he's been basically winning all the debates since the Atheist Experience has been on.
Right. So the oldest video on the channel goes back 15 years ago. If what Neppy is trying to say is that he's been dominating the channel since day one, that's one claim. And okay, fine, whatever. You're full of shit. That's fine. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying that he's been doing it for 11 years, almost 12. So he's cutting himself short by 3 years if that's what he's trying to do.
Well, you have to kind
And
of put
he
into
always
that
has-
calculation the times when he's been in jail.
That's okay. Yeah, that's fair. They don't let not even Florida does not let you have internet in your cell.
Well, they might, but
they-
but you wouldn't want to waste that time, making stupid comments on the Atheist Experience channel.
Unless that's all he's got to do all day.
Well, so he usually says that, like the latest comment, I've been proving God for 50 years.
Yeah.
So, he basically saying that since he was 13 years old, he's been, quote unquote, proving God.
No, because he once told me that he was 58.
Well,
So
when was that?
Oh, it's been within the last few months. He's
really?
given 3 completely different ages. He's claimed to be 50. He's claimed to be in his late 50s, his mid 60s, and early 70s. So
Well,
he's given 3 completely different ages.
So I know his age. I at least when I last looked, he was 63. Oh, I think his birthday had passed, so he's probably 64 now. At least that's how
5 more years from the special birthday.
Nice.
well done.
All right.
Yeah, he's such an idiot. He's another one that if he weren't so toxic and so prolific, it wouldn't be entertaining to poke him at all, because he's another one that he steps on a rake every time he talks. He gets basic facts completely incorrect, basic facts about his own supposed dominance on the channel. But if you challenge him at all, he resorts to name calling and comes up with excuses as to why he can't be bothered to debate. At least not live one-on-one.
Yeah, I just looked up my notes on his birthday, and yes, he did pass his birthday, and yes, he is 64.
Except we also know he needs to be over 150 years old to fit his resume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's a medical surgeon, remember, as opposed to a tree surgeon, because that's how medical surgeons talk about themselves. And he's got so many years in this, and he's got so many years in that, and when you add them all up, yeah, it's like, even without the training to become a medical surgeon, he'd have to be 120 something. So yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's a felony in his description as well, since I think it's a felony to claim stolen valor.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I don't know if it's a felony.
An ex-criminal.
The next chance.
Committing another felony.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a felony. It could be, but it's definitely. It'll get you a real swift kick in the ass from anybody who ever served in the service if you are found to have stolen valor, because that's something that So I have family members that were and are in the armed services, and nobody tolerates that. He's full of it, and he knows it. That's why I have no qualms about pointing that out every time he tries to claim any kind of dominance on anything.
So at the federal level, it was a misdemeanor, but there was a Supreme Court case that in 2012 that overruled that because it's infringed on free speech. But there are various different state laws that address stolen valor.
Okay.
Now, another sidetrack. Has anyone watched that channel that
Usage crawling.
Chris Maisie, thrown to David, suggested Bible animation.
Oh, no, I didn't.
No.
It go and take a look at it. It's a channel, and if that's where he's getting his scriptural knowledge from, it sort of explains, well, that, and he's completely insane, explains his strange version of Christianity. But yeah, Bible animation, I watched about 3 minutes and then, yeah, that's the one, and had to go, nope, for the sake of my brain cells, I'm running away.
By the way, just going back to stolen valor, I looked it up, but at least in Florida, it is a felony.
Oh, okay.
Well, it fits with him, doesn't it? Because everything about his entire life is a felony, basically.
Well, I mean, he's already a felon, so stolen
Yeah.
valor, adding another felony isn't going to make him a bigger
Yeah,
felon.
so he claimed 16 years in the Coast Guard.
Oh, wait, that's right. He did say that once, didn't he?
And how many years in the CIA?
Well, he'd tell you, but then he has to kill you.
Yeah, that's right. Crazy.
It's the thing that really does kind of interest me. I want, and this is actually sort of a somewhat serious question I want to put out there, which is you've got the prolific commenters with Neppy, with Jim Edith, with Flowboy.
Libby.
What's that?
Libby
Yeah,
is another one.
and I'm not their therapist, so I'm not going to diagnose them as having significant mental health issues. But that does seem to be a pattern of just complete detachment from reality. Does anybody
Well, I mean,
else think
you
I'm off base on that?
you could argue that, you know, being a Christian and believing, at least, you know, kind of literal Christian, kind of requires detachment from reality.
I don't know how comfortable I am with that line of thinking. Now,
Well,
I'm
so
with
you
you,
would, when
John.
you say young Earth creationists are detached from reality because there are literal science facts that
Okay.
disprove 6 out of
yeah,
10.
okay, all right. So I see the distinction that you're making. I guess my concern was saying that everybody who has a religious viewpoint, I don't want to get into the habit of saying that everybody that has a religious viewpoint.
I agree. I mean, religion itself doesn't make someone detached from reality, but literally believing some of these things, some of the religious stories, where they are factually incorrect or factually, literally close to impossible. You know, besides just believing in magic that we have no evidence of. Outside of, you know, if you take that into account, you do have to detach yourself from reality. You have to detach yourself from reality to think that, you know, some magic can make a donkey talk.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying there. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ook.
I was going to say that it would be fair to class all religious people as detached from certain parts of reality. I think that might be a better way to word it.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
so
I think
I think-
like when you think about scientists, you know, who, you know, what's wrong, you know, that some of the stories that they believe in are wrong, but they are able to compartmentalize and be able to distinguish their science work from their religious views.
Yeah, no, fair point. Fair point.
So, you know, Stephen Seymour Jr., he had written a comment that I was very puzzled about. Thrones Dyson that popsicle from time to time as well, Ook. And I didn't realize what he meant until he, made another
autocorrects.
follow-up comment. Throne of David. That's what he meant. Like Thrones Dyson. What is that? But yeah, Throne of David.
No, the comment section is speaking in tongues.
Yeah,
Doing
Throne of
what?
David obviously is he seems to kind of appear at regular intervals, just popping out those kind of silly questions.
I want to put this out there. I think Throne of David is a false flag. I think he is there to make the absurd arguments to make theists look absurd. Because it's and admittedly, this is going to be an argument from ignorance on my part. I just can't wrap my brain around the idea that somebody could be that intellectually vapid.
But what was it for the last week? Has anyone heard Benjamin's cause? Like he always likes to justify slavery or indentured servitude, or he's called Torqueven, the AXP quite a few times, and to me, he always sounds like he's walking. He's just finished lunch or something, and he's walking down to the local bottle shop to refill. And he's for real. And I mean, we've also heard people. No, I think he is real. He really does believe this stuff. But it's that thing of you can't tell who's a Poe and who's not a Poe, because no matter whatever crazy thing they profess to believe in, there are people out there that, there's no new conspiracy theories. It's all just, and people believe it. Anti-vaxxers, flat earthers. I mean, yeah.
No matter how absurd the statement, you can find somebody who genuinely believes it.
Yeah, birds aren't real and insects are bloody drones from an alien race. Yeah, it just,
Well, like that mud fossil guy.
Yeah.
That
but,
is,
Oh, Roger from Mud Fossil University.
Yeah. And Hans Wormhat, or Herm, it's Herm, I forget the other guy. I was going to say that the troll that just makes me laugh and also gives me a headache when I try and read his posts is Paul Gaiman or whatever, the guy with David Bowie's photo as an avatar.
Yeah.
He's right off the deep end. And the funny thing is he's a Scot as well. So
how do you know?
Yeah. Oh, he said one day, I got it in the notes. He actually said, no, I don't speak the Queen's English. I speak the Scot language because I'm Scottish. And I'm sort of like, oh, yeah. That's awesome. And then there was, here's testing people's memory. Does anyone remember Hamish? He used to call into the show all the time and said, I am deeply disturbed. Yeah.
No, that's a new one for me.
Oh, type it into Torqueven search bar, or he mainly talked to Torqueven. A few calls on the AXP, but yeah, do yourself a. Yeah, he's from what I can gather, a elder in the what's known colloquially as the Wee Free Church of Scotland. He's go and have a listen to that one. Hamish, all right. Yeah. Oh yeah, Miranda said, yeah, Benjamin gets raked over the coals every time. Yeah, he does. He's so bad, and nothing. You could insult him, and he doesn't care. He's been kicked out of, I think, every church in his town, which gives you an idea why. No, that's me. My brain's gone.
Is there anything that we can be doing to further encourage. I don't want to say reasonable theists because, but is there anything that we can be doing that can to encourage getting people here during the live stream on a more predictable level?
I was kicking around the idea, with Q's permission, of actually doing something I've never done and make some comments on Christian channels. Just theist channels.
Christian Reddit.
Christian Reddit. If anyone is on Reddit, make some comments on. I refuse to use it. But that's just personal.
I have no problems, but it's interesting. Like on the previous live stream, we had kind of people coming in, like Baked Alaska, Otangelo, and I think we had another person just coming. I think these guys kind of sort of cruise around on YouTube, looking for these type of debate channels.
Yeah, they just basically cruise around trying to find someone who hasn't already banned them. And I mean, I don't have a problem with the Baker Alaska coming on and Otangelo. It's just I don't even want to be on stage when they're there. I just want to sit back and laugh. But
I guess when it comes to folks like Otangelo, where I already know kind of the style of argument that he's gonna try to engage, I don't mind debating folks like that. And honestly, I mean, I can be more aggressive and kind of, for lack of a better term, put on a show that way. But is that the direction that we want to take this? And QC, ultimately, this is your channel, so it's ultimately your call.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want this to be kind of a shouting type of stream. I do want it to be where it's people talking, civilly about their disagreements.
Okay. Well, Steve is saying that Reddit is a dumpster fire of liberals running everything. So that seems like a good civil way to start.
Yeah. So
dumpster fire is always a good way.
I would like to hear more of what Steve has to say.
Yeah, I'll shut up even.
Well, let me post a link. I doubt Steve is going to come on, but Steve, I just posted a link if you want to call in, although we have maybe like 20 minutes left. But you can just use that link on your browser and you'll be able to connect into the stream and talk to us. I kind of doubt that you would join us because I think you've made excuses in the past. Oh, now I remember. I think you're making the excuse that your face was made for radio and your voice was made for print or something like that.
Yes.
And then he backs out of that and say, well, my voice is like really deep and really powerful. So it might be too much for you guys.
Steve, I genuinely want to encourage you to amaze me with your deep and powerful voice. So you guys are forgetting that the Catholic Church and religious were heavy into science in order to figure out God's creation. Steve, you have the ability to click the link and join the conversation. I would love to discuss the Catholic Church's impact and influence on science with you. Please,
I can't believe guys like him still kind of making this comment of, well, scientists were Christians, or there were a lot of Christian scientists who, came up with X, Y, and Z, as if they made those discoveries because of their Christianity. Their Christianity had nothing to do with their discoveries. They never went to the Bible to say, oh, look, the Bible says that the universe is expanding, so it must be expanding. No scientist has gotten anything from the Bible.
Yeah. So, Steve, I would love to hear your voice that's fit for print. I I would love to discuss with you the Catholic
But
Church's influence on science.
Sorry,
That
it,
will
I
it's
must.
kind of
one of us will have a lot of fun with that conversation.
I missed something there. Is Steve a Catholic? That's Aussie for Catholic.
I don't remember, but he seems to have this kind of Schrodinger's voice where it's both bad for talking and also powerful.
At the same time. So
Yeah.
Steve, open the box so we can find out which is which.
Given my unique education and who ordered it, I'd really love to talk to Catholics, especially, as I say in the comments, Seppo Catholic. And of course, you all know that you're my Seppo mates. Seppo can be an insult and a compliment, depending on how it's used. And so, no disrespect to all my great American friends. But yeah,
you have wounded me, sir. You have wounded me, sir. I will go to bed crying in my sleep tonight. I promise.
Well, would you guys agree that Catholics in general know less about the Bible than, let's say, other denominations?
completely true, especially if the movement now is to undo Vatican II and start saying the Mass in Latin again. And I mean, it's about 20, okay, it's coming close to 40 odd years since I was taught 5th century Latin. And my God, you couldn't ask for it. At least with the Greek Orthodox, if you know Greece, if you know Greek, you're able to follow along.
We have Steve on.
No, I'll shut
So
up.
Steve, let's hear your deep voice. He dropped off. Maybe he forgot.
I think he had the live stream going in the background. That was the echo.
Steve, come back.
Oh no, he's back.
Here we
Hello,
go.
Steve.
Steve, come back.
Oh yeah, he still has the YouTube live stream in the background. But apparently he's very, very shy and he doesn't want to talk to us, even though he did connect. Oh, he's setting up. Well, okay. Well, we'll wait for you until you set up. I'll remove you from the stage until you are ready. Just put in the comments when you're ready, and I'll put you in the stage. But generally, I don't want the stream to go too much past hour and a half. So, we still have time to get you on, but we may not be able to go on for too long. What were you saying, Ook?
Vatican II, which was instigated by my second cousin. No one understands Latin. So to revert back to the priest delivering it in Latin was dogma that they didn't want the plebs to know about what's in the Bible, or God's word. So that's why they always said it in Latin. And it's probably one of the it is the worst branch of Christianity for keeping people in the dark.
Okay, Steve is on. Steve, can you
hear me?
Hey,
Wow,
Steve.
you do have a nice deep voice. So when you said you only had voice for print, you were not being truthful.
Hold on one second. I can't hear myself in my headphones.
Too bad.
Nothing
But
wrong with your
yeah,
voice,
it's a
Steve,
really nice
sounds good.
voice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Steve, that is a very pleasant voice, sir. Welcome to the
Yeah.
conversation.
Better than mine, anyway.
I do have a radio voice.
So
That's
why did you
awesome.
say before that you had a voice for print?
Oh, hold on a second.
I think it was just taking the piss, Q, having a joke.
Maybe.
I don't
Well,
think
let
that's
us know.
good.
Yeah. Can you hear us, Steve?
I can hear you fine. I just don't hear myself.
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
that's. Oh, do you have
Oh,
like
I'm
like a
hearing
full
you on
headphone?
radio. I'm hearing you on YouTube is what I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Oh, you don't want that. You want to turn off the sound on your YouTube.
Okay. Now I can't.
See, this is why you have screeners, despite what Ricky says.
Oh, John, I found that recipe for beetroot.
Oh,
But
awesome.
it's,
Okay.
It's for pickled beetroot, because I don't think anyone would like hot beetroot. Is that fine?
Yeah. No. Perfect. Go ahead and email.
Yeah,
it to
I'll
me.
send it to your email. Yeah,
Yeah. Please and thank you.
easy done.
Steve, you there?
Yes.
So, how you
Can you
doing
hear
today?
yourself?
All is well, thank you.
That's wonderful. So, what's on your mind?
Nothing. Somebody was telling me to log in, see what you guys were up to.
Okay. Well,
Well, we already did have a discussion about one of your comments, so maybe we can go to that.
Which was that?
So you had made a comment that your morality is objective because of the 10 Commandments. Do you remember?
I have an objective source or foundation that is not another man's creation.
But you're saying that your foundation is based on what's in the Old Testament, the set of laws, or are you talking about just the 10 Commandments?
Well, it would have to be actually a mix of the 10 Commandments and Jesus' great commandment, which basically the Jesus' great commandment and the second great commandment is all from the 10 Commandments.
So you want to ignore all the rest of the commandments that God gave to Moses and keep just the 10? That's your preference?
I wouldn't say that. I don't know them all that well. The big thing is with Christianity, what you're really supposed to do is love God first, love everybody else as your neighbor secondly.
So how does that form an objective moral foundation?
Oh, well, a lot of it is based on what's described as good and evil.
And what is it?
Well, stealing would be evil, murder, rape.
So actually, real quick, hey Steve, this is John. So if it's a choice between stealing food and starving to death, stealing is evil?
Oh, you go get a job.
So again, that doesn't answer my question. If I steal this food and I get to eat, I can live another day, or I can starve to death.
Well,
so my question still stands. If I steal this food and eat, I live, or I can starve to death and die. So you're telling me that even under that circumstance, stealing is evil?
Well, under Christianity, God decides
it's a yes or no question. So
God decides when you go or not, and you end up in His hands anyway. So this is just in the Christian worldview. This is just a temporary body. And
wait, but you're not giving us the moral view, right? Because you kept on saying you have objective morality.
You don't steal. You starve.
So starving to death is preferable to stealing so that I can eat and live another day.
Well,
yes or no? It's a yes or no question.
You starve, yeah.
Okay. All right.
But I wouldn't starve. I would go start looking for work and picking berries or whatever. Stand on the corner, beg for food. Do that last.
Well, I think there are plenty of people who try to do that, can't get a job, can't find any other source of food, and then they have to, either go begging or sometimes are forced to steal. just to get by.
Yeah. Well, usually, here's the thing. Years ago, I don't know how old everybody is here. You were talking about a 60-year-old guy, which I'm not too far off from that. People did not beg. They actually asked for a job and worked in the kitchen for a meal rather than steal or beg.
Yeah, when was that? When was that and where was that?
That was prior to the war.
What war?
You think there were no begging at that time?
Wait,
there was begging. There was begging.
Where in the world was that, and when was that?
Well, you look at all the shows where the people were asking for.
No. You made the claim that before the war, what war?
World War II.
You're telling me that there was no begging before World War II?
Not from the Christians.
Wasn't there a thing called the Great Depression?
You're telling me that there was no begging by Christians during the Great Depression?
Sure, they were begging, but they weren't stealing.
That is factually wrong. In fact, one of the things that was going on in great abundance during the Great Depression was theft. You have a fundamental lack of knowledge about U.S. history.
Well, I never said everybody was a Christian back then.
So you're telling me that the number one religion in the country, pre-World War II, no Christians were stealing?
Oh, well, let me put it this way.
Because the number one religion that has been represented in jails since there have been jails in the United States is Christianity.
Practicing or just declaring they were Christian?
Again, so now you're doing the no true Scotsman fallacy.
Well, that's the same thing with a lot of Jewish people say they're Jewish, but hardly any of them are practicing Jews.
Okay, so first of all, you
can claim a lot of different things. These days, you can put on a dress.
You made the claim that no Christians were stealing prior to World War II.
When
I pointed out that the number one religion that's represented, when I pointed out that the number one religion represented in prisons since the beginning of prisons in the United States is Christianity. So now you're trying to say, well, no, they weren't really Christians. So either you're moving the goalpost or that's the no true Scotsman fallacy. Which is it?
Well, the good ones, they didn't steal.
The good ones. So we're back to so it's the no true Scotsman fallacy.
Well, basically non-Christian.
Everybody likes to call Hitler a Christian, but who actually?
We're not talking about Hitler. We're not talking about Germany. We're talking about your debunked claim in World War II. We're not talking about Germany. We're not talking about any other country. We're talking about prior to World War II in the United States and your false claim that Christians don't steal.
Well, so let me just. I think what Steve is trying to say is that only non-criminals or only criminals actually commit crimes. So if you're a Christian and you're a criminal, you commit crimes and you're no longer a Christian.
Yeah, you're sinning.
Yeah, they're not practicing. They've fallen out. So as soon as a Christian commits a crime for whatever reason, and we're not even talking about morality right now, we're talking about legality. As soon as you commit a crime, you're no longer a Christian. That's very interesting. But
so what is it about? Yes, what is it about stealing that is objectively immoral?
It's a sin.
How do you know that? Based on what?
It's stealing somebody else's labor.
So what's sinful about that? How is that a sin?
Well, if you're working, if you're growing food for yourself and your family or something like that, and someone starts stealing your food and your house is being hurt by that, that would be a sin. So
it's the harm that an action causes that makes it sinful, not necessarily the act itself.
It would actually be, it's like the argument against the Christian abolitionist argument for slavery. Ending slavery was we're all created in the image of God, and it would be immoral to enslave or own another human being that's created in the image of God. So it would be basically the same principle for murdering. You don't murder another individual created in the image of God, and you don't rob from another divine individual created in the image of God.
I'm sorry, Steve. Where do you find the verse that says that? Because I can have a look in your 10 Commandments, and it says don't covet your neighbor's slaves, but it doesn't say don't own slaves. And I can go along into the New Testament, and it says for slaves to obey their masters, even the cruel ones. And so Jesus didn't seem to have a problem with slavery, so why would we have a problem with slavery?
Well, we wouldn't have a problem with slavery if we were back there in that time with no industrial revolution, air conditioning.
Sometimes it's immoral to own another person, and sometimes it's not immoral to own another person.
Well, how?
That's
First of all,
morality.
if you watched, what was it? It was interesting with Jordan Peterson did that show on Christianity and the Bible, and he had Prager on there. And basically, they laid out in the Jewish Bible that after 7 years, you were supposed to release your slaves.
Yes, indenture slavery.
Yes.
By the way, so do you?
Not if you're a woman. Women didn't get released after any period of time, and only if you're a Hebrew slave, if you were one of the slaves who were obtained from the people around you or from the aliens living within your community, they didn't get to leave until after 50 years, until the Jubilee.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I
bet a lot of that in the time was, first of all, a lot of people, practically nobody could read, so education was around.
Wait, I'm confused, Steve, because I thought you were talking about objective morality.
Yeah, so this is really subjective. So wouldn't objective morality mean that something is wrong in all circumstances for all time? But apparently it was okay back in that time because the circumstances were different.
Oh, no. Like I said, this is the thing is it's an objective because of the source.
Sorry, weren't those people made in the image of God at that time?
Yes, but it's the source.
No, but. You said that the reason that slavery is wrong is because people are made in the image of God.
Right.
People were made in the image of God 2,000 years ago, so it should have been immoral then as well, but apparently it wasn't.
Well, that's because nothing really changed until basically, what was it? The Pilgrims and everybody started fleeing the countries that were run as.
That's irrelevant.
Yeah, that's irrelevant. Either it's immoral or it's not. If it's objectively immoral, then that means that back then it was immoral. But you're making the argument that it's okay because it was back then, which means it's a subjective argument.
I'm saying if the king says it's moral and everybody has to follow the rules of the king, there's not a whole hell of a lot you can do against the king.
So your God is less powerful than a king.
But
well,
the king doesn't force you to buy a slave.
And the only one that had any money and it was a king or the rulers and all that. And
So
it was very elite.
Steve, I believe you said you have objective morality, but why do you keep making excuses?
I have an objective source for morality, which is a
what
God
is that source? What is that source?
God.
Okay, so here's how it works. So Steve, here's how it works. If it's objective, that means it doesn't matter what the situation is, what the condition is, what the cultural background is.
Right.
Because you actually said
let's back up. It's an objective truth, like 2 + 2 = 4 in the universe, regardless of man.
Yep.
Okay, so murder is immoral regardless of men being around, no matter what. So even though Christians and everything did it, it doesn't change the objective truth or the universal truth that was always there.
So you are saying that slavery was immoral in the Bible. You are saying it's immoral.
Okay. You're doing this is you're saying, look at all Beethoven did lousy music because nobody can play it like he did. So you're blaming the players and not the guy that wrote the music.
Steve, was slavery immoral back then? Was it immoral?
It all depends on what you want to call it.
That's
morality.
Indentured servitude wouldn't be immoral.
So owning people, is it immoral or not?
I think in the Bible, doesn't it say that if you capture a man and sell him, you're to be put to death?
No, that's if you're kidnapping another Hebrew. Is it wrong to own another person?
I couldn't tell you that.
It's a yes or no question, Steve.
Yeah.
So
Is
you
it
have
immoral
objective.
to own another person? Yes
It's
or no?
illegal to treat another person as a piece of property. Yes.
We're talking about morality, not legality.
Yes,
Is it
it's
immoral?
immoral to own another person as a piece of property.
So then the slavery that is allowable in the Bible is immoral.
Well, the slavery in the Bible
Yes or
was
no?
how to.
Yes or no? Yes or no? If slavery is objectively immoral, then the laws allowing for slavery and the treatment of slaves in the Bible is immoral. Yes or no?
Well, here's the thing. Like
No,
I
well,
said,
yes or no? It's a yes or no
the
question.
slavery in
Yes or
the
no?
Bible. See, the problem is you want.
The problem
I
is
see-
that the problem is you're trying to have it both ways. You're saying that slavery is immoral, except when it's over here in the Bible, because then it's kind of okay because it was back then and that it was really kind of practiced a whole bunch. So that's a subjective answer. But you're claiming that that slavery is both objectively bad and subjectively okay. You're trying to have it both ways. So yes or no. Okay, here's a better question. Under what circumstances is it okay to ever own another human being?
It's perfectly fine to make a person a slave rather than throw them outside.
Then slavery is not objectively wrong.
Actually, no, because if you throw
You
the
just
person
said that
out,
it was okay.
no, let me put it to this way. If you're throwing them out of the house and they starve to death and everything like that and let them die, that's not charity. That's not actually loving the
So it's
person.
charitable
We're not
to own
talking
someone?
about we're not
Hang on,
talking about
I'm
those
sorry,
situations.
Steve.
Well,
Sorry,
that's what I'm telling you it is. That's what
Steve?
the situation is. There's a
You
lot
just
of
told
people
us. Sorry,
back
Steve?
then in the day, they couldn't read, right? They didn't have
No, so we're
skills,
not
they
talking
didn't
about
do
those
anything.
situations. We're trying to make it simple.
Blarg is trying to make a point.
Sorry, Steve. You were telling us that if God wants you to starve to death, you should starve to death rather than do something
Steal.
immoral. So it should never then be using that same logic. A person should be allowed to starve to death rather than subject a person to ownership by another person.
Well, but it's not ownership, is what I'm telling you. It's actually
It
charity.
is.
It's actually charity to bring someone in, feed and clothe them, and give them health care.
So we didn't
And
ask
feed them
about
with a
whether wait, so hold on, Blake. So let me just
Sorry.
clarify. Steve, we are
Yeah.
not asking about charity. We're not asking about someone helping another person. We are talking about owning another person. So let's make it simple. Let's say that an Israelite went
Well, then you're
to
going to
a
have to
war.
start saying chattel slavery.
Okay, that's fine. So when we say owning another person, that means chattel slavery.
Right.
But let's say, just to help you out, let's say that we're talking about chattel slavery. Is it immoral or not?
Chattel slavery is immoral, yes.
Okay. So God commanded immorality. Thank you.
No,
Yes.
but that may be true. But here's the thing. He's the arbiter of the morals. It doesn't
Here we
change
go.
the
Divine
fact
command
that
theory.
I-
Divine
Can I
command
just
theory.
butt in
That's
for a
right.
sec?
Yeah.
it
Go ahead.
still comes down to I have a source for an objective morality, and that's one more than you guys have.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you don't.
Okay,
And
Steve.
Go ahead, Luke.
here's the other thing that I argued about the other day. There was
Wait, hold on, Jason. Sorry.
is
Hey,
when you guys
Hold on, Steve. Ook had a question, and he was
Sure,
actually
go ahead.
waiting for a
Yeah.
while. Go ahead, Ook.
Yeah. G'day, Steve. You might know, but Blarg and myself are both Aussies. Have you heard the song Waltzing Matilda?
no.
Okay. It was Australia voted for a national anthem because I think back in the 80s, because our national anthem was God Save the Queen. And we wanted a new one. So the second most voted for song to become Australia's national anthem is a song called Waltzing Matilda. And it is about stealing, and specifically stealing a sheep to feed someone. So when you make these broad comments that, you know, it was never okay. No country's ever thought it's okay to steal. You might want to look just a little further afield because, hey, Australia.
It doesn't change the fact that stealing is a sin.
Well, sin is a religious concept, and if you have
So are morals.
No, sin is a religious concept.
So are morals.
And no, they're not.
Can you pick up a moral and touch it?
That's another one of these things that's another one of these claims that you've made that's just factually wrong. The idea of morality.
All right. So whose morality was right? The guys that threw people into volcanoes or ate them for lunch?
So we're not talking about those. You know,
no. See, that's the whole thing.
No,
if we're
you said religion needs.
The morals of all men are plastic and made up in their minds. Okay, that's the whole thing
you've been making this entire time, Steve. This entire time you've been making a subjective morality argument and a divine command theory argument of morality. If God says it's okay, that makes it okay. But then if God says that it's okay on Monday for slavery, but on Tuesday it's not okay, then that means it is inherently subjective. It also leads you to the flaw of, does that mean that God is incapable of changing his mind on what is and is not acceptable? Because if God can change his mind on what's acceptable, then that means that morality is inherent from God is inherently subjective. If God can't change his mind, then that means that the God is powerless over to do it. So he's not all powerful. And there's something more powerful than God. So you're arguing either against a flawed God or a subjective morality. Which is it?
I'm arguing that I have a source of an objective source that's not man.
Except that you don't, because the morality coming from this source can change. You yourself have said back then slavery was okay, but now slavery's not. So just on the topic of slavery alone, you've undercut your own argument.
Well, like I said, slavery back then was basically a form of charity. So people didn't.
We're talking about chattel slavery. Chattel slavery. When we say slavery,
chattel slavery would be immoral to do. Yes.
So God commanded immorality, right?
Well,
God commanded immorality.
I don't know where he said you should have a slave trade and start buying and selling people.
God said, go to other nations and buy slaves, buy shadow slaves, own people. That's what he said in the Bible.
Sorry.
And then how long? In this same Bible, was that the ones where they released them after 7 years?
No, because in if you go to other nations, they're not Hebrew. So 7 years and even 50 years, that doesn't apply to non-Hebrews.
Well, and it doesn't apply to women.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about all the other versions.
And even if they were all released after 7 years, being a slave is being a slave. It's not charity, Steve. Charity is charity. Owning another human being is what you seem to want to be able to have and not have at the same time.
I don't know. I think actually being made a slave versus starving to death is a good option.
We're not talking about starving to death. We're not talking about
that's what I am talking about.
No, but when we say owning another person,
you guys are forgetting they didn't have the internet back then and air conditioning back then.
What you're arguing then is that there are circumstances where it is okay to own another human being.
Well, you wouldn't be owning the other.
Yes or no? Is it ever okay to own another
human being?
What's that?
But like it said, if you watch the Prager thing, they had to let the slaves go after 7 years, which was basically just indentured servitude.
The Hebrew slaves. But during that time period, did they own them?
Well, it's literally
own them during that 7 years.
Yes or no, Steve? You're in servitude. That's you're owned in servitude.
So then you're arguing that it is sometimes acceptable to own another human being.
It's never.
Except earlier in this conversation, you said that it was never okay to own another human being. So are you backtracking? Were you ignorant, or did you not know what you were talking about?
I guess I don't know what I'm talking about.
then let's start from that point of I don't know, and maybe you don't have the objective source that you think you do. Because sometimes it's okay to own a human being, except sometimes it's not. And back then it wasn't okay, except sometimes it was. Like, you're hopping all over the place and you're making all of these arguments, and they have no cohesive center, except that your core premise is that you do have a cohesive center.
So let's stop right here. Let's pause right here.
Let's grant you that argument. Who then has an objective source of morality?
You seem to be
No one.
Wait, hold on.
No one does.
John.
Yeah.
Sorry. No one has an objective.
That's
no one
right.
can demonstrate.
So
not
that's
even
right.
you. See,
So that's
here's the
right.
thing.
Everything
Steve,
becomes subjective.
Steve,
there is
sorry,
no evil.
Steve,
Murder is no longer
Steve,
objectively immoral.
Steve, that's wrong.
Can I? Steve,
He just proved it. You just said there's no objective morality.
All right, how about, hold on. I think QC is trying to push the path forward here. So let's all take a back seat here. This is QC's channel. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
QC, what's going on?
Yes. So I think this gets heated, this discussion, because obviously it is completely immoral to own another person. But what Steve did say was that, when he was given the options, you said you don't know, right? You don't know.
Okay, so who do you say says so?
Okay, so hold on. Before we move to that, Ook, you had some question. Go ahead.
Sorry, just had to unmute myself. Steve, have you read the Vulgate?
The Vulgate?
Yes, so you're a Catholic.
No, I'm not a Catholic.
Oh, right. Okay, so the Vulgate is the Catholic, the main Catholic Bible. Now, you're also making a distinction between the word murder and kill. You do know that
there's differences.
In later versions of the Bible, the "thou shalt not kill" was changed to "thou shalt not murder."
Well, I think it would be perfectly moral to stop somebody with deadly force that's about to kill you.
So killing is okay.
Yes.
Depending on the circumstance.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not objective.
Just to add on to that.
Killings, yes, but that's why the moral is you shall not murder.
Yeah, but just adding on to that.
That's actually is hate.
Just adding to what version of the Bible. What version of the Bible do you use the most?
I'm not very good at the Bible at all.
And yet you use the Bible as your source of morality.
Well, most of the 10 commandments, I know the 10 commandments, and I know you shan't steal. And the big thing, of course, is the great commandment. This is you love God first and love everybody else. And if you love everybody else, you don't own them and you don't murder them. You can kill in self-defense. Here's an interesting thing is an executioner can actually be Christian. Because if he's just following the law and it's a just law in God's name and everything, and he does not hate the person, that's not murder.
So, Steve,
but if you're not very good with the Bible, then how do you know that your interpretation of this subjective moral law is accurate?
Well, how do you know yours is?
I don't know. I'm asking you first. Please answer my question.
See, here's the whole thing: is your end game is going to be there is no objective morality.
My end game right now is to understand your position, and so far you haven't answered my question. If you are not very good with the Bible, then how do you know that your interpretation of your objective moral source is accurate?
So, Steve, before you answer,
I want to hear his answer, QC.
I'm fallible. I'm going to make mistakes.
Then how do you know that you got it right?
There is no objectivity if you are claiming that you're going to be fallible.
Yeah, if you're saying that you're fallible and you're not very good at the Bible, then what's your point?
Players and not the music written on the paper.
Yeah,
Steve, another quick question.
What you just admitted to is that you don't even know that you've got the right music.
Yeah, but if I can, John, another quick question.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
What are the 3 different 10 sets of 10 commandments do you follow in the Bible? Because there are 3 different versions of the 10 commandments. So which one do you follow?
I wouldn't know which which 3 versions are. Basically, no.
Wait,
Okay,
so you don't
which
know, but
version-
you use
don't
that
know
for
much.
objective morality.
You're not very good with the Bible. You don't know that you've got the music right, to follow your analogy. So this objective standard that you claim that you follow is one that is based off of a Bible that you don't understand and a God that you can't comprehend. So how do you
Let me
even
ask
know
you
that your
this.
objective standards are even close to being correct?
Do you have an objective?
I'm asking you, how do you
law-
know? No, we'll get to me in
Do
just
you
a
have an
second.
objective
Hold
system
on,
of laws
Steve.
in
You're
the
the one who
country you
came
live
in
in?
here. Hold on, Steve. You're the one who
Okay,
came
wait,
in
wait,
here.
John, hold on. Let me just kind of set the. Let Steve know what's going on here. So, Steve, even if we don't have objective morality, even if you disprove something else, that does nothing about your morality. You are defending your morality, not trying to make your morality true just by saying something else is false.
Okay, so here's the problem: is you're always looking at me as a first person, and I'm telling you, my moral's not me, you, or anybody else. It's a higher power.
So the
But how
reason
do
why
you
we
know
say,
that, Steve? Hold on, Stephen. If you don't understand the Bible, if you don't know which of the 10 commandments that you're using, and you've got a fallible understanding of your deity, how can you even begin to claim that you have an objective source that you don't understand?
Well, let's put it this way: if I
How
say,
do you understand that, Steve, if you don't understand it?
if I go in court and say murder's a sin, or you go in court and say murder's a sin, but there is no God, you have nothing to. You're actually perjuring yourself because you have no outside
come
source.
on,
Wow.
Steve.
We don't believe.
Steve,
We don't
okay,
believe
here's
in
the
sin.
big flaw in here's the big flaw in that analogy. It has not, your argument and your source of your morality has nothing to do with me. You claim that you had an objective source, but now you're saying that you don't understand that objective source. So how do you even know that that objective source exists?
What's an ad populum fallacy?
Steve,
None
you
of us
claimed
making
that
that.
you didn't. You said that you had an objective source. Now you're saying that you don't understand that objective source. So how do you know that that objective source even exists?
I'm not perfect.
So then how do you know
so
that
you
that
don't
objective
have it.
source even exists?
Yeah, I see what you guys are doing.
No, Steve,
you're
please
trying
answer
to,
the question. If you don't understand your source, how do you know that source exists?
You're blaming the bad player.
I'm not blaming anybody,
being,
Steve. I'm asking you a
yes,
simple
you are.
question that
You're
you keep
pushing
dodging.
it onto me.
Because you're the one making the claim, Steve. Therefore, you have the
That
burden
I have
of
an
proof.
objective source that I may fall short of all the time. Yes.
Sorry,
Except
can I
you
jump
can't-
in? John?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Lark.
Yeah, here's the problem. We understand your argument that you're making, Steve. It's really simple. It's not hard to follow the argument you're trying to make. The problem that we're having is that when push comes, so you say, okay, we've got a perfect morals giver, and that may or may not be true. But the problem is you don't have access to it. It's like saying I have a tape measure that I can use to distinguish between which one of these two people is tallest, except you can't use the tape measure, you can't see the tape measure, you can't demonstrate the tape measure exists. Nobody...
Did
and
Caesar
then
exist?
you go along and say, well, without the tape measure, you can't tell... without the tape measure, you can't tell who is taller out of two people. See, that's the thing. You look at the two people and tell how tall they are, and then you back solve and said, well, the tape measure told me that person A was the taller person.
Well, all
So
I can
once
say
again-
is, I mean, we all know Caesar existed
Why
because
you can't get to an...
Steve,
We
we're
all
not
know-
talking about Caesar. Caesar is not the objective source of morality that you claim that you have.
but
You
but
claim that you
Caesar
had an
did.
objective
Do we
source.
agree Caesar exists, and we know what
Can we
Caesar
agree
said?
that you're not answering my question about whether or not you can prove that your objective source exists?
We'll prove Caesar existed.
No.
Okay,
no,
so Steve, we'll say that Caesar doesn't exist. Okay, go ahead.
Fine. Caesar
Caesar
doesn't exist. What is the best, strongest evidence you have that proves that your deity exists?
Oh, I would. Well, first of all, what was it? The one Andrew Wilson was talking about the other day. There was.
We're not talking about
Is-
Andrew Wilson's evidence.
is
We're talking
2
about your
plus
evidence.
2
What is your
is 2
evidence?
Is 2 plus 2 equal 4 a universal truth or something we invented?
Wait, is
Humans
math
invented
the same
mathematics.
thing as morality?
Yeah,
We can actually prove math. FYI.
Yeah,
You-
so
you
there's
what?
there's an objective.
There's a
understanding
lot of
mathematics
math
that we
out.
have.
There's a lot of math out there that we can't prove, but we know that it works, or can't prove in the physical world, but know it works mathematically.
So is
No.
so is your
And
so
even
I asked you hold
even-
on. So I asked
there
you
are
for the
even
best strongest
logic.
Steve, I asked you for the best strongest evidence that you have that proves that your deity exists, and your response is math is hard.
No, not that. I'm saying
then-
is,
so then-
did we
then let's not
did
talk
we
about
create
mathematics.
math, or
Let's
is
talk about the
math
best
is
strongest
some-
evidence that you have that proves that your deity exists. Stop obfuscating, stop dodging and deflecting, and
Well, that-
answer my question.
That would be a faith thing.
So that, but
What is?
What is faith? If
What is
faith,
faith?
That there's a God.
Okay.
okay,
You
so
now
believe
we
in
got
God.
to
Muslim,
it, right?
hold on. A Muslim has faith that Allah exists. An Odin has faith that Odin exists. Are you saying that your faith is no different from an Odinist or a Muslim?
I would say that they have, again, one more objective source of morality than you guys do.
But that's not what I asked you, Steve. I asked you what the best, strongest evidence you have is, and your response was faith. So your God is no better.
Have you ever watched the animations of DNA replicating itself?
Why do you keep like going to some other argument that's completely irrelevant to what
Well,
we're talking
right.
about?
I look
I
at
asked
the
you
mir-
for
the
evidence,
mir-
and so
miracles
far
of
your
the
response
universe.
is hold on. I asked you for the best, strongest evidence that you have, and so far your response has been math is hard and faith, and go look
DNA
at
is
some cartoons.
complicated.
Well, they're all. I can't show you physical
So
proof.
hard math, faith, cartoons. That's the best, strongest evidence you have that proves your deity exists.
Yeah. Yes. Hard math and cartoons. Yes.
Okay, well then you don't have an argument. So what's your point?
No, I have an objective source.
Prove
No,
it.
you say that you have.
What is the
objective
best,
source.
strongest evidence you have
Sorry,
that proves
Steve.
you have an objective source?
Well, you got rid of Caesar, so I can't say anybody that's been written about in the past.
So,
ever
so
existed.
wait, Caesar was your best, strongest evidence that you have that proves that your deity exists?
Do we have writings about Caesar? And do we know what he said?
We have writings about Voldemort. Does that mean Voldemort exists?
Well, we also have writings about in the Bible of what God said and the commandments in the Bible.
So your
Yeah, so
argument is
there's-
because it was written down, that means it's true. So Voldemort exists.
Okay. Yeah, Mickey Mouse existed too.
Okay, then what's your point? Do you have evidence that proves your deity exists? Yes or no?
I can't argue with you if you're going to go to the absurds all the time.
No, you see, you're the one making this argument.
This is the interesting thing about this is I prove I argue you guys don't have an objective morality and an objective truth, and here you are arguing exactly like that you can make up anything you want.
But I'm
No,
not making
you're-
anything. I'm holding you to
You're
your
going
own
all
logical
over
standards.
the
Steve.
place.
You're making
You're
a
the
logical
one who's
error.
all over the place.
You're
Steve.
going
I
all
keep asking you a simple
all over-
question. I asked you a simple
My position
question,
is
Steve, and you- and you're-
without an
and
objective
to answer, hold on, to
morality,
answer,
you're
Steve,
going to have chaos, and you guys are chaotic all over the place.
Steve, you're the one who brought this all over the place because I asked you for the best, strongest evidence that you have, and your response was math is hard, faith, and cartoons.
Is murder
You're the one who's bouncing all over the
is
place.
murder
Give me
objectively immoral?
Give me the best evidence you have.
Is
Knock it
murder
out of the park. Knock
objectively
me on my
immoral?
ass, Steve. What is the best evidence you have that proves your deity
Sorry.
exists?
Sorry, John. Maybe.
yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Maybe we might just tone it down a little because it's going to come across a little confrontational there. We don't necessarily need to go that hard. Steve, your argument about murder is objectively wrong because the word means something that says that.
Why is it wrong?
So unless it's unless someone has already deemed it to be wrong, then it can't be murder. So you've got the cause and effect around the wrong way with the word murder. So you have to have deemed it wrong first, then it rises to the level of murder. It doesn't start as murder and then become objectively wrong.
Yeah.
But the
So
point I
is
was trying
murder
to make
objectively wrong to do? Yes or no?
it's definitionally wrong to do.
Right.
That's the thing.
So it's not objectively
No,
immoral
that
to do it.
that
No,
is
that's
essentially
what we're saying, Steve.
that is
Is that-
same as
No.
objectively.
He
Well,
said
Steve,
definite. He
Yeah,
didn't say
definitionally.
objectively. I meant universal
Okay.
truth. No matter what the time and location is, murder
Okay.
always wrong.
Wait. So let me just give this example. So Steve, a bachelor is an unmarried man. It's definitionally unmarried man. So it is actually tautologically true. It's always true.
Yeah, that's an is.
That
That's
is
what is.
definition. That is definitionally.
That is.
So,
Yeah, that's an is.
Murder is definitionally wrong.
Why?
Because that's what the word means, not because.
Okay.
If it
so
wasn't
Steve,
wrong,
I-
it
I-
wouldn't
I-
be
I-
murder.
I- so I- actually, I can
That's
I can
really,
illustrate
really
this
deep.
Hey, Steve, I can illustrate this for you. Okay, I can illustrate this for you. So one person kills another person. So that is the objective action that has taken place. A person is dead because of the direct actions of another person. So we can agree. So we can agree on that level. Yes.
Well, if
Hold on.
atheism's true,
Oh, no, Steve,
Come on,
You're-
Steve.
all I did was
you're
take
bouncing around
one-
all over the place, dude.
A person is dead because of the direct actions of another person. So that's cause and effect. Now, how we define that action
Well, no, it's not a
is,
person.
hold
It's
on.
just
That
a
is the
bipedal
so
animal.
the legal definition of the action is what determines whether or not it was murder.
Well, why?
And whether or not
Why
because
did they
mercy-
make it
because
illegal?
honor killing, because there are parts of the world where honor killings are acceptable, therefore it's not murder. But that same action in the United States would be considered murder because of the definition of murder in the place, which means that murder is situationally applied as
Okay,
a definition of the action.
So now you're back to arguing that murder is just subjectively immoral.
No,
It is
we're
a
still
it
not
is
getting
a
it.
it is a word
Here's a
that is
question.
used to define an action as defined by the governing body that oversees the action.
The preferences of men,
So-
yes.
Okay, wait.
Sorry,
Let's all stop here.
Steve?
So
Steve?
Blarg, we're kind of past time, so we're going to close
Yeah,
it
we
out
are.
after your comment. Blarg, go ahead. Your last comment.
Sorry, I was just going to ask the question: is it possible that a bachelor could be a married man? Steve, is that a possibility?
A bachelor could be. I have no idea what that means. So
So-
I guess
So a person who is a bachelor, could they also be a married person, a married man? Could a married man be described as a bachelor?
no, I guess not.
And as such, a person, for the exact same reason, murder is wrong because until it's deemed as being wrong, it can't be called murder. So
Deemed
the deeming
deemed
occurs
wrong
first.
by who?
It doesn't matter who it's deemed by. It's the
Well, actually, it does.
it's by. Sorry, it's just
You're not
because it's
getting
the
it.
definition of the word.
Oh, I
It's
understand
tautologically
it. Have you guys ever talked to?
No,
What-
no,
or
you're
what-
not getting it. You're
what-
not getting it.
Clearly
So
not.
Steve,
Let's do
Steve,
this. Hey, Steve,
Sorry.
Steve, we are way over time, and I actually would like to be able to delve into this with you further, either in a group conversation, or you and I can go one-on-one in this conversation further. But we're well past where QC usually cuts this off. Would you be completely opposed to coming back next week at 9:00 Eastern Standard Time so that we can continue this conversation? Would you be opposed to that?
Saturday night? I'm usually on. I probably would be on.
Because I would love to have this conversation with you further.
yeah,
Usually
if you
what
could
you-
get
Oh,
on
I-
at
I-
the beginning, if you could get on at the beginning, that'll give us more time to talk about. So as of now, I do want to close it out. So Steve, thank you for at least having the bravery to come and talk to
No
us.
problem.
The kind of arguments that you made is exactly like the arguments that you make in the comments. So I guess congrats. But
You're at least intellectually consistent.
yeah.
most of the
So
time.
so let's
Well, I
wait
have to be
until next
logically-
week.
I I have to be
So Steve,
logically
Steve, let's wait until next week, and you can, we'll have a lot more time for you to make your arguments and for us to rebut it and explain to you why, a lot of what you say is, fallacious. But next week. So thank you for everyone that's on. Thank you for people in the live comments, and we will end it here, and I'll see everyone in the comments.
Good night.